detention facilities that include jails in Indian country, that include military prisons. There are something like 2.5 million people behind bars. And these prisons are inheritors of a tradition that extends back to the violence-ridden convict lease system and the southern plantation prisons like Angola in Louisiana that, interestingly enough, still exists. But jails and prisons, which we tend to see as a permanent feature of our society, are actually relatively new to human history. One can look at some of the first jails, first prisons that were used for punishment in Philadelphia, for example, the Walnut Street Jail and the Eastern State Penitentiary. And they attempted to supplant older forms of punishment like the stocks and pillory. And the fact that these prisons were an alternative to other forms of punishment should remind us that if these older forms of punishment were superseded, then jails and prisons also ought to be considered impermanent. We should be capable of finding ways of addressing the problems that jails and prisons purport to solve that are less damaging to our communities. And therefore, when we reflect seriously on mass incarceration or over-incarceration, we should begin with the insight that prisons have not always been among us and that they can, in fact, be abolished in the future. And likewise, there have not always been armed forces patrolling and policing human communities. We can discover new and more effective solutions to the problem of security than armed human beings.